Yo, welcome back, guys. Gear versus technique, which is more important? It's a key question to answer because there's a lot of information out there that is, tailored towards this idea that, if you've got the right amount of money and the right amount of gear, you don't need much else. Frankly, that's the nugget that we're kind of reading a lot of, and there may be some truth in that. Let's just have a read through this comments on my channel because this is what's kind of spurred this video. Just have a read through, but Mystics asking me or Tristan to show different effects, mics, etc., show how they affect how the voice sounds. And apparently Tristan does have one, shows different mics, how they affect the voice. But this comment here, here's the thing. About halfway down, you can't teach someone to be a pop singer without that technological enhancement, because that is the way things are done today. Instead, many voice coaches don't mention anything about this and create videos where the singer is lip syncing something that is heavily processed, perhaps using 40 layered tracks of their voice. This is likely responsible for quite a bit of damaged vocal cords as beginners try to do the impossible on their own. Let's get the word out about this deception. So let's just get rid of that and bring you back to me. There we go. I'm doing this on the fly, as you'll see. So I wanted to talk about this concept, this idea. How much are these pop singers relying on gear? How much are they relying on technology? I want to refer you in the link in the description to a channel that I came across quite a few years ago that helped me a lot, called Recording Revolution, and he goes into some of these topics. But the core principle behind a lot of his ideas is that essentially what you're putting into the microphone is weighted. That is the most important factor in terms of making a good recording. And the whole idea is that essentially you want to get to a point where you press record, you put the track in, you listen back, and it's basically finished there and then. And then you just do a few little tweaks, an EQ, compression, reverb, and it's done. Yeah? The goal is to value and put weight into the musician's ability, into their ability to execute, into their ability to, do what they're trying to do, basically. And with that kind of attitude, I found that I focused on my skills, I focused on my technique, and I've got better and better and better. And now I can just record my music and it will sound good with basically nothing done to it. So I guess the premise of this and the reason, the frame I want to put this in is to ask you this question. Would you rather be Jennifer Hudson with the gear I've got, just a cheap condenser mic and a little interface? Or would you rather be an average singer with limitless funds and limitless amounts of equipment to process your singing through? Now, if you answered you'd rather be Jennifer Hudson, you answered correctly. If you answered you would rather be an average singer with a lot of gear and infinite funds, you answered incorrectly. Yeah? The weight is probably about 90-10. So basically 90% of a recording is what you put in from the get-go. What goes into that microphone is 90% of what you get out. No matter how much funds you've got, no matter how much equipment you've got, you can't turn an average singer into Jennifer Hudson or Whitney Houston or Adele or David Phelps or whoever you want to mention, Luther Vandross, Brian McKnight, all these types of singers. They get in front of a microphone and what you hear is what you hear. There ain't no trickery there. It is that good. Yeah, it really is that good. Now, that's not to say singers don't have ups and downs, not to say that singers don't have good days and bad days, but it's to say, on average, when they're on a good day, which is probably half the time, maybe 3/4 of the time, they can execute to that level. You put a microphone in front of them and they can sing, baby. They can sing. Now, another thing I've experienced is that I work at a big venue. I have a lot of very famous acts at that venue. And my experience over the last year and a half is that all these guys are very good at what they do. There's only so much you can hide in a live performance, not much. And I can tell you that these guys that I've seen, and I've seen some very, very high-level singers, some are better than others, but the good ones can kill it, and they need nothing. You just literally can put a microphone in front of them and they can sing that good. So now back to just, what that 10% we're talking about, what can you actually do with a vocal to make it sound very good? Now, there's some agreement I'll have with this, like, this isn't me just saying no to this comment. There is a sense, and I agree with, especially towards the end of this paragraph, this little bit where he's saying, beginners try to do the impossible on their own. They hear the product, they hear a Jennifer Hudson, and immediately will try and mimic what she's doing. And that is unfortunate, and that does lead singers into problems. They miss the basics. They miss, just learning and developing fundamental skills that she will take for granted. Jennifer Hudson, quite frankly, she will just, she won't pay much attention to them because to her it's automatic. And this happened to me when I was learning. I was listening to singers with a lot of range, trying to mimic that. I had very little range myself, so I pushed. And when I pushed over and over, developed a lot of bad muscle memory, which put me in a bit of a hole, as you guys will know. A lot of problems. If you can hear some funny noises, it's because there's a cable here. There we go. That won't happen now. Yeah, so I had a lot of bad junk that I wouldn't have had if I had more understanding and I hadn't just tried to leap to an end result and try and copy straight away. If I'd have said, right, I just need to learn to sing basic stuff first, don't need to do anything crazy, just learn the basics. But I was reluctant to do that, and it cost me. So I'm in complete agreement with this part of what he's saying. And I'm in some agreement with, that there's a lot of technological enhancement with a lot of pop singers, a lot of processed vocals we hear nowadays. I think back to 10 years ago when there was that Cher track that was, hyper processed with all of the vocal, I don't even know what you call it. A lot of like very processed auto-tune and stuff like that. And there was a period where there was a lot of pop singers that were putting a lot of that into the recordings and stuff like that. So there certainly are parts of pop music that are overly processed and overly fiddled with. But conversely, there's plenty of very good, very, very famous singers that don't need any effects, don't need any extra work. They're just that good. But in terms of what you can do as a learning singer, somebody that's developing, it's much better to focus on that 90% than worry about the 10% that you can do on the other end with money and technology. Yeah. A, it will cost you less. B, it will have vastly more impact. And C, you'll be happier because you won't be thinking, oh, if only I had XYZ funds, if only I had XYZ bit of kit, then I'd sound good. Then I'd sound professional. You'll start. It's too tempting and too easy, guys, to start blaming things outside of your control at that point. So it's a slippery slope. You've got to be very careful, because what you get is you start getting people that will say, well, she's a millionaire, that's why she sounds good, rather than saying maybe she's that good. Yeah, most of them are that good. That's true. Anyway, I'll leave you with those thoughts, guys. Gear versus technique. Have a think about it. Consider it. It's not necessarily as simple as you think. It can be nuanced. It can be deep. Have a good day. Bye. Thanks for watching this video, guys. If you want my help personally, you can book a one-on-one training session. Drop me a message. My email is in the description. And if you feel like this message was of value, then please feel free to make a donation equal to that value. Again, donation link is in the description. And finally, please share this video with other singers you know. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you in another video. Bye!